stories. Our mission really is to dissect these experiences, pinpoint the details that create that sense of unease, and to dig into the questions they leave behind.
Exactly. We're trying to pull out those surprising bits of insight, maybe those aha moments that might make you think a bit differently next time you're out walking in the woods. It's not just what happened, right? It's also about what these stories tell us about how we react to the unknown, how our minds grapple with things that just don't fit.
Okay, let's jump right in. First up, a school camping trip in British Columbia. The narrator was 15 at the time. They're at this forested campground near a lake, pretty remote, basic facilities. So they're sitting by the fire looking towards this low ridge behind their tent, and they notice, well, something standing on the ridge. At first, maybe shadows, maybe a weird tree, but every time they looked back, the shape remained. They mentioned it to friends, but got the classic, it's probably nothing.
Yeah, and that's fascinating, isn't it? That immediate cognitive dissonance. You see something, your eyes are telling you one thing, but then your friends dismiss it. That creates this internal struggle, right? Do you trust your own eyes, or do you go with the group consensus? It makes that feeling of unease even more isolating, I think.
Totally. And that feeling just lingers, because the next evening, the shape was still there, same spot, facing the same way. This time, the narrator didn't say anything.
Kept it to themselves.
Right. But then, early the next morning, things get even stranger. They find these big footprints in the dirt right behind their tent, leading off towards the woods. And they knew these weren't from anyone in their group.
Okay, so physical evidence now.
Exactly. A teacher said something like, oh, likely one of the adults. The narrator points out, none of the other tents had prints behind them. And nobody mentioned doing rounds over there.
See, that's the crucial detail. The footprints defy that easy explanation. It's not just a vague shape anymore. It's concrete. Undeniable, at least to the narrator, and unexplained. That combination is really unsettling.
And then the whole trip ends early. Officially, rain was expected. But the narrator, they suspected it was something more. And the impact is pretty huge. They haven't been camping since. Still wondering if that figure, whatever it was, ever actually left.
It really shows how that unresolved mystery, that potential threat you can't pin down, can implant a much deeper fear than something you clearly see and confront. It changed their whole relationship with being outdoors.
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift now. Our next deep dive takes us to a university camping trip. Fernage Forest. Sounds remote, took a 3-hour hike to get there. This one has a different kind of creepy discovery.
Oh, okay.
So they're around the campfire playing that game where everyone shares a secret. And one guy, Liam, shares this childhood memory from when he was maybe 9 or 10. He says he saw something in the woods near his family's cabin. He describes it as like a person, but it wasn't. Arms too long, head turned slightly like it was watching without looking. Creepy stuff. And he's specific about the location. A narrow creek with a broken footbridge and a tree nearby that was bent in a hook shape.
It's amazing how those old, unexplained memories, especially from childhood, can just stick with you, so vivid. And the power they can suddenly have years later. Well, it seems like that's where this is heading.
Exactly. Because another camper, Ava, she's listening, just freezes. She realizes Liam's super detailed description. The creek, the broken bridge, that specific hook-shaped tree, it perfectly matches the trail they all walked that same day.
Whoa, okay. Coincidence.
That's what another friend suggested. Just a coincidence. But, the vibe shifted. Unease sets in. And then it gets weirder. Later that night, the narrator and Ava wake up. They hear someone or something walking in circles just beyond the tents. Just walking, persistently. The narrator said it was like whoever it was knew we were listening and didn't care.
That's deeply unsettling. The lack of concealment, the deliberate presence.
Yeah. So the next morning, Liam urges them to go back to that spot on the trail. They find the creek, the bridge, the tree, exactly like he described from his childhood memory. And then across the water, just a few feet from the base of the tree, they find a small stack of rocks shaped like a person.
A rock stack.
Shaped like a person. And the key thing, the narrator's clear. Now, it hadn't been there yesterday.
Okay, that's chilling.
That collision of a past, maybe dismissed memory with present, tangible, new evidence, the childhood sighting, Ava's realization, the footsteps, and now this deliberately placed rock stack. It just layers on the dread. It's not just a story anymore. It's a marker left behind.
Understandably, the group just packed up, left immediately. Not much talking. The narrator feels like something changed out there, and they just haven't discussed that trip since. Never really shook it off.
And it's often those impossible details, isn't it? The things that just shouldn't be possible, like that rock stack appearing overnight. Those are the things that burrow into your mind because they break your understanding of reality. Totally breaks it. Okay, third story. We're going back to 1993, Northern California. Narrator's 12, with her older brother Nathan, who's 14, and their dog, Bolt. They often hung out near this old, unused railroad bridge over a dry creek bed. So one day they're heading towards the bridge, and Bolt, the dog, just stops, hair up, lets out this low growl.
The animal instinct. Always pay attention to the dog, right? Animals seem to tune into things we just filter out or rationalize away. It's like they have this extra sense for when something's wrong.
Definitely seems like it here. Because they look under the bridge into the shadows about maybe 30 feet back, and they see something was there. Looked like someone crouching down facing the wall.
Crouching, facing the wall, okay.
Nathan calls out, hello.
Yeah.
No reply. But the person shifted just a small movement, like turning their head slightly. They didn't see much, just enough to know it was a man before Bolt really started barking, and they just bolted. Left quickly.
And did they tell their parents?
Nope. The narrator mentions they didn't, maybe because they weren't supposed to be there, maybe just, how do you explain that?
Right, that silence lets the mystery kind of fester, grow bigger in their minds.
So 2 days later, curiosity wins. They go back, this time with a flashlight. Under the bridge, on the concrete pillars, they find these chalk drawings, circles, triangles, and stick figures repeated again and again, weird symbols. And on one pillar, dozens of short lines scratched in a row, like someone had been counting something. Tally marks.
Okay, so not just a fleeting presence, markings, deliberate signs, counting what? Days. Something else.
Who knows? But it gets even more disturbing. That same morning they find the drawings. Their dad finds a small drawing in yellow chalk near their driveway at home. A circle with a triangle over it, almost identical to one under the bridge.
Oh no, that crosses a line. That's an intrusion. It goes from a creepy discovery at a remote spot to something personal, aware of them. It's deeply unsettling.
It really is. And they went back again later, the tally marks. More of them, and they'd been carved deeper.
Yeah.
And then they found actual signs of someone living there. A blanket rolled up near the wall, a metal bowl with dried food stuck to the bottom, and a pair of shoes lined up neatly beside it.
Wow. So, hidden resident. The drawings, the tally marks becoming permanent carvings, the personal items. It paints a picture of someone living completely off the grid, right under their noses in a way, and that symbol appearing at their house, it suggests this person wasn't entirely disconnected, chilling.
Yeah. Years pass. Eventually crews clear the area, post warnings, take the bridge down.
The narrator never found out who it was, how long they were there, but they always remembered. Bolt had known something was off from the beginning.
That animal sense again, a trimal warning system.
Okay, final deep dive. Prince Edward County, Ontario, another school camping trip, another 15-year-old narrator. Part of the setting is this old stone building, maybe a former chapel, off the trail. Teachers specifically warned them, don't go near it.
The forbidden place. Classic setup. So middle of the night, the narrator wakes up to a sound, described as metallic and short. Just one clean strike, like something heavy hitting metal. Very distinct. Their tent mate, Leah, heard it too.
A single, clear, metallic sound in the dead of night near a forbidden old building. You have to wonder how a sound like that, so specific and out of place, just instantly ramps up your anxiety. It cuts through the quiet and seems wrong.
Totally. So the next morning, curiosity gets the better of the narrator. They go to the chapel, alone, finds a small plaque on the wall, dated 1897, dedicated to someone named Margaret Welds who had died at 15, same age as the narrator.
Ooh, that personal connection, the resonance with the age, adds another layer of unease, almost like a pull.
Yeah, and then they look inside. The bell rope, gone. And the bell itself is rusted and looked as if it hadn't moved in decades, which makes that clear metallic sound they heard, well, an impossible ring.
Right, the physical reality completely contradicts the auditory experience. That's the core of the mystery. It wasn't a distant, muffled sound. It was clear, metallic. But the source looks incapable of making it. That paradox is deeply unsettling.
And just as they're standing there processing this impossibility, they think they hear movement inside, soft footsteps, shifting leaves or dirt. Then silence again.
Wow. So the forbidden place, the connection to the past, tragedy, the impossible sound, and then faint evidence of presence. It's like each detail builds on the last, creating this atmosphere where reality itself feels a bit unstable.
Exactly. The rest of the trip went on as normal, but the narrator couldn't shake it. Felt like the trip had changed something. They tried looking up Margaret Weld's later, found nothing clear. But years later, they still think about that chapel, the plaque, and that single impossible metallic ring in the night.
It's those moments that defy explanation, the ones that leave you with zero rational answers, that really stick with you, isn't it? They just echo.
They really do. Okay, let's pull back a bit and try to unpack all this. We've got 4 distinct stories, all unsettling in their own way. What are the common threads here? What insights can we pull out?
Yeah, looking across them, several patterns really jump out, I think. First, there's almost always this element of the unseen or unidentifiable presence. It might be a shape on a ridge, something like a person, but not. A figure crouching in shadows, or even just an impossible sound. It's something inexplicable, hard to define.
Right, the ambiguity itself is scary. You don't know what you're dealing with.
Exactly. And tied to that, often, is the power of tangible evidence. These aren't just feelings or vague sightings. We see big footprints, chalk drawings, that creepy rock stack, personal items like blankets and shoes. This physical stuff makes it real for the narrator. It grounds the weirdness in reality, making it harder to dismiss.
It moves it from maybe I imagined it to, okay, something happened here, which must be really isolating
when others dismiss it. Yeah, that's the next pattern. The disbelief of others versus personal conviction. Friends say probably nothing. Teachers offer rational explanations. But the narrator knows what they saw, what they found. They're left holding this unsettling truth alone, which can be profoundly disturbing in itself.
Yeah, feeling like you're the only one seeing the real picture. And the result of all that seems to be
a lasting psychological impact. These aren't just campfire stories they tell for fun. Every narrator talks about a real shift. Avoiding camping, changed relationships, this lingering, unresolved curiosity or even fear. These encounters leave a mark.
a deep mark. Changes how they see things fundamentally.
For sure. And finally, there's the setting itself. The wild as a canvas for the unknown. Forests, remote ridges, old bridges, abandoned buildings. These isolated, natural, or neglected places seem to be where these things happen. It makes you wonder if there's something about these liminal spaces away from the everyday that makes them more susceptible to, well, the unexplained.
It's like the normal rules don't quite apply out there. These stories really highlight how just a few weird, inexplicable details can completely shatter our sense of safety and normalcy, turns a simple trip into this lifelong question mark.
Precisely. It's the things you can't explain that haunt you.
So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, our listener, the next time you're out there? Deep in the woods, by a lake, maybe exploring some old ruins.
Yeah, it really raises a question, doesn't it? What would you do if you encountered something like this? Those details that just don't fit. How much do we lean on our familiar surroundings for comfort? And what happens when those surroundings suddenly hint at something deeper, stranger, maybe something unseen that we just don't have the tools to comprehend? Something to maybe mull over until our next deep dive.